So first off, Dr. Smart, thank you very much for taking the time after a really, really long day to answer a couple questions for us for Hemp today. Little bit about your background, and
Yeah.
if you'd like to share, and then I'll start asking some questions.
Yeah, my name's Larry Smart. I'm a professor of horticulture at Cornell University. I'm based at Cornell AgriTech, which is our specialty crops campus in Geneva, New York. I have been working on hemp since the spring of 2017, and I am a plant breeder and geneticist. So my main interest in hemp is to understand the genetic basis for different trait expression in hemp. I am a plant breeder and geneticist. I have been breeding hemp since early 2017. We at Cornell started working on hemp. One of my colleagues was leading the program at that time in mid-2016 with generous support and funding from the governor of New York at that time, Andrew Cuomo, with strong support from the legislature of the state of New York. We worked very closely with our Department of Agriculture and Markets, who is our regulatory authority. But our main interest is to support the interests of our farmers, our processors, and our stakeholders in the state of New York using New York State taxpayer money. We have been breeding hemp and trying to get an understanding of the genetic basis of key traits in hemp over those past 8 years. And right now we are commercializing 2 new cultivars that we developed in our breeding program, one a dedicated fiber cultivar and one that can be grown for both grain and fiber, so a dual purpose cultivar.
The university is obviously very supportive of this program.
Well, early on we got to know our general counsel's office quite well
Okay.
because Cornell as a university is very risk averse overall. So when you start talking about working on a regulated substance, and initially when we started working it was a Schedule 1 on Schedule 1,
Right.
and we needed a DEA registration to work on the plant
Excuse me.
and to import seed into the U.S. And since there were no domestic sources of seed, we were definitely importing seed. Once we came to understanding of what their recommendations were, our general counsel, we want to keep them happy. But yeah, you asked about our strength in agriculture. I am in the College of Agriculture and Life Science at Cornell.
Okay.
And we do have a multidisciplinary team within the college that has included biochemists, controlled environment greenhouse specialists, tissue culture specialists, food scientists, entomologists, plant pathologists, plant breeders, obviously.
Right.
So we have been pretty fortunate to have a multidisciplinary team, again, generating knowledge and extension information across most aspects of cultivating the crop.
Now that we have industrial hemp being an industrial crop, a crop that is to be made into things, and with all of the funding focus that has been placed for, let's call it, nearly 2 decades, over almost a decade for Cornell,
Yeah.
on the plant itself, where is the room and when does it begin that we start to shift into consumer-facing product development,
Yeah.
marketing, associated PR? Where are those educational pathways and going to happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we do have those strengths at Cornell. I'll just say
Yeah, please speak for Cornell.
some of the areas that I think hemp is going to start occupying market share is in sustainable building materials and healthy building materials. We have an excellent College of Architecture, Art and Planning at Cornell, and I know I haven't made those personal connections with those folks, but I know we have folks who are looking at incorporating natural materials and healthy building materials into their curricula in the College of Architecture. I have colleagues in our College of Engineering who are working on making lower carbon concrete and doing 3D printing of concrete. And again, we have collaborated on grant proposals. We haven't hit on any yet.
Right.
But yes, those are the types of areas where at Cornell we can be at the cutting edge through cross-disciplinary research, me providing a biologically based building material and working with engineers and architects to incorporate that into their designs.
Nice.
And of course educating our students who will go on to be professional engineers and architects, how to incorporate these materials when they are professionals in the field.
It's nice to see that there's a plan for a pivot to get out of just the research on the plant and now into
Yeah.
the development of the product.
Yeah, so our short-term emphasis right now is to produce the data that we need to gain federal approval of hemp and hemp products for animal feed. That's another big market that I think hemp can occupy and fill a need. So we currently have funding. It's co-funding from New York State and from the Foundation for Food and Agriculture Research, FFAR, to fund 3 of our animal scientists to look at the safety and efficacy of using hemp seed meal for as a feed ingredient for dairy cows, broiler chickens, and horses.
It's awesome.
So we need those data from replicated research studies to provide now to the regulators, and that whole, I'm getting into the weeds here.
You're fine. I'm following.
That regulatory framework has now changed in the last year of approval of new feed ingredients, animal feed ingredients. There is now an institute at Kansas State University that will receive those research data and do the first review of the application for that particular feed ingredient. And then eventually it will go on to the FDA for final approval.
So Perfect World feeds allowed. How does that become cost effective?
Okay, so that's a great question. Hemp seed meal is approved right now as a feed ingredient for laying hens.
Mm-hmm.
And the data that I have seen, and I'm not an animal scientist, but the data I have seen when we feed hemp seed meal, let's say at a 15% inclusion rate in the feed mix to laying hens, results in higher quality eggs. They have higher quality fatty acid content in the yolk. The yolk is more yellow. The chickens have a more efficient use of the feed. So there are measurable beneficial impacts to using hemp seed meal as a replacement to, let's say, soybean meal as a conventional ingredient. It's always, okay, what are you comparing to?
Right. What do you take?
So that's a case where we can, the farmer, the egg farmer, can see real benefits and consumer benefits in egg quality by feeding hemp seed meal. I'm not an economist. I don't know what the price is going to be of soybean meal. Soybean meal is going to be really cheap because it's mass produced.
Right.
So we need to gain economies of scale.
Right.
In a perfect world, here's a scenario where that can be profitable. We are growing a dual-purpose hemp variety, so it grows very tall, and one of our varieties called Ursa Grande grows very tall in New York. We harvest that grain. We also harvest the stems. The stems go on to be used for construction materials, hempcrete, and wall insulation.
Right.
So there's a market for that. The grain is then crushed or pressed to make oil. That oil goes on to make either biodiesel or sustainable jet fuel.
Okay.
And then the hemp seed meal goes on to animal feed. So I've just described to you 4 potential market streams from a single harvest of that variety.
When Canada tried in those early days, when they were growing 6-8 foot tall plants that were going to seed, and then they had nothing to do with it afterwards. They engineered down for a shorter plant for
Yes.
the seed. That's accurate.
Yes.
So what you're talking about is bringing back the taller plants.
Yes.
Because we lost them for the last 20 years.
Yes.
Okay, so that is
Yeah.
real. All right. So
And that is absolutely was the result of a focus of the industry on grain only and harvesting grain primarily as a human food,
right.
and taking advantage of their agricultural resources
Yeah.
in the plains of large, flat, open space where you can drive huge combines, and the best crop to run through those combines is one that's only about 3 or 4
Gotcha.
feet tall. And you are basically there effectively sacrificing the straw.
Right.
You're ignoring the straw.
Well, they also had no infrastructure for processing.
And they
at
had
that
no
point, and they
infrastructure
didn't
for that,
invest in
and
it.
really no market for it
Right.
either.
Right.
So they became the best in the world at harvesting grain,
Oh yeah.
producing hemp hearts, producing hemp
Hands
seed
down.
oil.
2016, the program started. How long have you been interested in hemp, and when did it? What led you to it?
That's also a great question, and I was not interested in hemp until I was asked to work on this project in the spring of 2017.
Oh wow. Okay.
So my career up to then had largely been focused on breeding willow as a bioenergy crop.
Okay.
And it was at about that time that the writing was on the wall that commercially biomass-based energy crops were not going to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
We had gone through a big phase of trying to develop infrastructure for what we called cellulosic ethanol.
Mm-hmm.
That failed, was pretty much a complete failure. And a lot of money was invested and lost. And at about that time, our current use of biomass as an energy source was in wood-fired power plants. And in New York State, those power plants were being shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And it was largely being driven by the low cost of natural gas from hydrofracking. So the expansion of hydrofracked natural gas pretty much ended the potential for biomass-based energy. I saw the writing on the wall and said, here's a chance to pivot my career to a new crop where we have a clean slate in terms of research. There's very little
Great.
published
Yeah.
literature. Anything I discover, people will think is brand new.
Right. Well, I was gonna say that's a qualified clean slate. So yeah, that's so cool.
I mean, I could go back and read the papers from actually one of my academic heroes, Ernie Small, who is a brilliant scientist and brilliant geneticist, kept working on hemp among his other crops. He's really an alfalfa breeder in Canada, but other than him, there was very little published research on this crop, and especially
Right.
research on how to grow it in North America.
Um,
And let me just
Yeah, please.
get back to that point of the dream of a crop that can serve 4 markets. We have to work on one market at a time.
you're right.
So we have a very good company, HempToday, that is making progress in developing these bat insulation products they call hemp wool. They have other creative building material products they're working on. But let's make sure they're successful and get some market share with hemp wool. And let's make sure we have a viable supply chain for them to develop this hemp wool.
I'll be honest with you, you bringing it up and talking about construction materials, after talking to him, I would rather work with HempToday's bat insulation, because it's more similar to the traditional pink stuff, than to try to convince a crew to work with hempcrete in the United States. With HempToday's product is going to perform more like what is culturally familiar in the building sector.
Let me just mention another product that I am really thrilled about is hempwood
Out of Kentucky.
out of Kentucky.
Yeah.
And we have developed a dedicated fiber variety, which we call Ursa alta.
Okay.
Grew about 7 acres on our research farms at Cornell last year of Ursa alta. We loaded up, I think, 25 or 30 bales, sent it down to Murray, Kentucky, and Greg's company made hempwood flooring
Nice.
out of our Ursa alta variety that we grew on our campus.
That's fantastic.
And last week, my wife and I purchased some of that flooring and installed it in our bedroom in our house.
Oh, that's amazing.
So
That's
when I
actually
get
gotta
out-
feel really good.
When I get out of bed,
Right.
my feet land on a natural product made with hemp that I grew on my farm of a variety that I bred in my research program.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
So
That's fantastic.
we also, the university also bought some to put into our station director's office. And we are also hoping that the USDA will build a grape research building on our campus. And they have a bio-preferred purchase program that hempwood is included in.
That's fantastic.
So the hemp researchers in the USDA based in Geneva, I hope their offices are also have
Wow.
hempwood flooring
That's
of
at some point in the
the
future.
Ursa alta.
What do you see as the most significant genetic challenges in breeding hemp for fiber versus grain versus cannabinoids?
Yeah, the goal for fiber is pretty simple. It's to try to find a variety that will flower as late as possible
Mm-hmm.
in the season. And those are varieties that are naturally adapted to low latitudes, to tropical and subtropical latitudes. So their timing of flowering, they will only flower on very, very short days. So when we grow them in New York at a northern latitude, they just grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. And that's how you get the most fiber biomass. The challenge with that is, where do you produce seed? So then, this is our biggest challenge right now, is finding the right environment and one that will be economically viable to produce seed of fiber varieties which flower so late they have to be grown for seed at very low latitudes. So we're looking at places like Yuma, Arizona,
Oh, wow.
Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Mississippi, the Panhandle of Florida, to produce seed of this variety.
What advice would you give to new researchers or industry professionals looking to engage with industrial hemp moving forward?
Oh, I think the key thing for this crop is to have a collaboration with someone in industry, someone starting a company, someone who has an idea for a product, and then try to support them with the basic research or engineering expertise that they need. I think that's been the most rewarding thing for me, is to be able to work with companies and work with entrepreneurs. But that would be my advice for this crop in particular. The scientific world is so late coming to hemp. We've pretty much learned everything we know about plants on other crops.
Right.
We're not going to learn too much more new by studying hemp. So what we really need to do is figure out how we can use this crop for a more sustainable society, to reduce our dependence on fossil fuel-based products, for example, and to add another crop into the agricultural rotation, the agricultural landscape, which will benefit farmers in the long run. You mentioned that MPS program,
Yes.
and early on in the hemp boom, there was a need to educate people, and there were jobs in the hemp and cannabis industries. So we saw the opportunity to offer students a one-year master's program, Master of Professional Studies, that would allow them to transition from one career, maybe they were in business or finance, and they wanted to get into the horticulture or agriculture industry, but needed those educational credentials to get that job. So at that time, it filled a niche. I would say over the last couple of years, our enrollments have been declining. The cannabis industry in New York is becoming mature,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, those the need for those jobs and people is less than it was. But it was very rewarding today to see one of our graduates from a few years ago of that NPS program, William Sales,
I've spoken to William. Yes.
who is now employed at the biofill
Yes.
facility that we toured today.
Yeah, I spoke with him last night, and I told him how excited I was for him knowing that he came out of that program. But I also know Anthony Baraka,
Yeah,
and he participated in our webinar at Syracuse.
yeah,
And he was your first cohort.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great that.
And he's one of my colleagues, one of my professional colleagues
That's
now.
amazing. Yeah,
But
that's
to see
fantastic.
William also contributing again to the success of this company in North Carolina
Amazing.
is really satisfying.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's got to feel really good.
Yeah,
So
great.
again, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. You're welcome.